Imagine an empire so vast it made medieval Europe look tiny. While European kings were fighting over scraps of land, one African empire controlled more territory than England, France, Spain, and the Holy Roman Empire combined. Its capital city had the world's greatest universities, with thousands of students studying subjects Europe wouldn't discover for centuries. And then, in a single day, it all came crashing down. This is the story of the Songhai Empire, the superpower history forgot.
In the year 1500, if you looked at a map of the world, you'd see Europe divided into dozens of tiny kingdoms, constantly at war with each other. But in West Africa, you'd see something completely different: the Songhai Empire. Stretching from the Atlantic Ocean to what is now Nigeria, from the Sahara Desert south to the rainforests, this was one of the largest empires on Earth. The empire was centered along the Niger River, controlling the most valuable trade routes in Africa: gold from the south, salt from the north, and everything in between. But Songhai wasn't just about trade and territory. It was a center of learning, culture, and innovation that rivaled anything in the world at that time. To understand how it got so powerful, we need to go back to where it all began.
The Songhai people had lived along the Niger River for centuries, but they were always overshadowed by their powerful neighbor, the Mali Empire. You know, the one ruled by Mansa Musa, the guy who crashed Egypt's economy. But by the 1460s, Mali was weak, divided, vulnerable. And in 1464, a military genius named Sunni Ali seized power in Songhai. Sunni Ali wasn't just a king, he was a warrior, a strategist, and absolutely ruthless. Over the next 28 years, he transformed Songhai from a small kingdom into a massive empire. In 1468, he conquered Timbuktu, the legendary city of gold and learning that had been controlled by Mali for centuries. The people of Timbuktu had gotten comfortable under Mali's loose rule. They weren't ready for Sunni Ali. He rode into the city with his cavalry, declared himself ruler, and anyone who opposed him, well, let's just say Sunni Ali didn't believe in second chances. Next, he conquered Jenne, another major trading city that had resisted Mali for years. But here's what made Sunni Ali brilliant. He didn't just conquer cities, he controlled the rivers. He built a massive navy on the Niger River, war canoes that could move troops faster than any army could march. This gave him a strategic advantage no one else had. By 1492, when Sunni Ali died, the Songhai Empire stretched over 1,400,000 square kilometers. To put that in perspective, that's larger than France, Spain, and Germany combined. Actually, it was larger than all of medieval Europe west of Poland. One empire, one ruler, controlling more land than all the European kingdoms fighting over scraps. Now, you might be thinking, okay, big empire, lots of land, so what? Here's what makes Songhai different. While Europe was crawling out of the Dark Ages, Timbuktu was the intellectual center of the world. The Songhai University in Timbuktu had thousands of students, with some historical accounts claiming as many as 25,000 at its peak. Now, historians debate the exact numbers, but what's undeniable is that Timbuktu was a major center of learning when most of Europe was illiterate. To put this in context, Oxford University, founded in 1096, had maybe 1,500 students at this time. The University of Paris, about 2,000. Timbuktu, thousands upon thousands. And that's just one university. The city had well over 100 Quranic schools. Some sources claim up to 180. Hundreds of thousands of manuscripts, libraries everywhere. Students came from across Africa, the Middle East, and even parts of Europe to study in Timbuktu. What were they studying? Mathematics, astronomy, medicine, law, philosophy, chemistry. They were charting the stars, performing surgeries, writing legal codes, and debating philosophy, while most of Europe was still figuring out basic literacy. And here's the crazy part. We almost lost all of this knowledge. Timbuktu's manuscripts, hundreds of thousands of them, were hidden for centuries to protect them from invaders. Families buried them, hid them in walls, stored them in the desert. And today, scholars are still discovering them, still translating them, still realizing how advanced Songhai really was.
After Sunni Ali died in 1492, there was a power struggle. His son tried to take over, but he didn't last long. In 1493, one of Sunni Ali's generals, a man named Muhammad Ture, seized power and declared himself Askia Muhammad the Great. And he lived up to that name. If Sunni Ali was the warrior who built the empire, Askia was the administrator who perfected it. He divided the empire into provinces, each with its own governor. He created a professional army. He standardized weights and measures across the empire. He established a justice system with courts and judges. He built roads and organized the postal system. Basically, he turned a conquered territory into a functioning superpower. Under Askia, the Songhai Empire reached its absolute peak. The capital city of Gao had over 100,000 people, making it one of the largest cities in the world. Trade flourished. Gold, salt, ivory, and slaves moved through the empire, making it incredibly wealthy. Askia himself went on a legendary pilgrimage to Mecca in 1496, just like Mansa Musa had done. He brought 1,500 followers, 300,000 gold coins, and gifts for every city along the way. He came back with scholars, architects, and books. He invested in education, building more schools and libraries. The Songhai Empire under Askia Muhammad wasn't just powerful, it was sophisticated, organized, advanced. For nearly 40 years, from 1493 to 1528, Songhai was untouchable. And then, everything changed. By 1591, Askia Muhammad had been dead for decades. The empire was ruled by Askia Ishak II. But cracks were showing. Internal conflicts, succession disputes. The empire was already weakening from within. And across the Sahara Desert, the Sultan of Morocco was watching. Morocco wanted one thing: control of the Saharan gold trade. And the only way to get it was to destroy Songhai. So in 1591, the Moroccan Sultan sent an army of around 4,000 men across the Sahara Desert. Now, 4,000 doesn't sound like much. Songhai had armies of 30,000 or more. But here's the difference. The Moroccans had guns, muskets, cannons, gunpowder weapons that Songhai had never seen before. The two armies met at the Battle of Tondabi in 1591. The Songhai forces were massive, experienced, confident. But when the Moroccan guns started firing, it was over. Horses panicked, soldiers scattered. Traditional weapons, swords, spears, bows, were useless against gunpowder. The empire was already fractured by internal conflicts. The guns didn't just defeat Songhai, they delivered the final blow to an empire that was crumbling from within. The Moroccan army was destroyed in a single day. The Moroccans marched into Gao, then Timbuktu. They looted the cities, burned libraries, killed or enslaved scholars. The empire that had stood for over a century collapsed in months. And just like that, the greatest empire in West Africa was gone.
So why haven't most people heard of the Songhai Empire? Why does everyone know about the Roman Empire, the Mongol Empire, the Ottoman Empire, but not Songhai? The answer is simple: colonialism. When European powers colonized Africa in the 1800s, they needed a narrative. They needed Africans to believe that Africa had no history, no civilization, no achievements. Because if Africans knew they had built empires that rivaled Europe, if they knew their ancestors had universities while Europe was illiterate, if they knew they had wealth and power and culture, well, that makes colonization a lot harder to justify. So the story of Songhai was downplayed, ignored, left out of textbooks. European historians wrote Africa out of history books. They portrayed the continent as backward, primitive, uncivilized. And for centuries, that's what the world believed. But the truth is coming out. Those manuscripts hidden in Timbuktu, they're being translated. Archaeologists are uncovering Songhai cities. Historians are correcting the record. The Songhai Empire existed. It was powerful, it was advanced, and it deserves to be remembered. The Songhai Empire ruled West Africa for over a century. At its peak, it was larger than all of medieval Europe. Its capital was a center of learning that rivaled anything in the world. And then, weakened from within and facing gunpowder for the first time, it fell in one devastating battle. But the legacy remains. In the manuscripts of Timbuktu, in the ruins of Gao, in the memory of a civilization that refused to be forgotten. This is Hidden Kingdoms, uncovering the empire's history left behind. If you want to learn more stories like this, subscribe. What empire should we cover next? Drop your vote in the comments. I'm Hidden Kingdoms, and I'll see you in the next one.